Good morning, Rajivji. Kaval here from Mirasangeet.com, and a warm welcome to you today once again on our show, Chat in Chai.
Thank you, Kamalji. Pranam.
Pranam Rajivji, कैसे हैं आप?
I am very well. How are you?
Very well, thank you, Rajivji. So, before we move on with the queries sent in by our listeners on Mirasangeet, just wanted to know, in case there's been a significant update on the immigration bill there, which our listeners should know about.
Well, the house where immigration bill is right now stuck, um, that adjourns and will not reconvene
Mm-hmm.
until September 9th. And I counted the number of days they work most months, September, October, November, December. They are working between 7 and 10 days a week, a month. So we don't know how it will play out, but
Okay.
September 9th is the date to watch when they reconvene.
Oh, all right. Okay. So still some time there for the bill to go, and
Yes, ma'am.
for all of us to really wait that positive outcome is seen. Anyway, we now can move on with the queries. Rajiv, we've had some listeners sending in queries.
Go ahead, please.
The first one here is my if my H-1B petition is denied by the USCIS or withdrawn by my employer, what happens to my H-4 dependents?
Uh, if, well, let me just make it very simple. Everybody who's got a primary visa, like an H-1 or an L-1,
Mm-hmm.
all their dependents are 100% dependent upon their status. So
Mm-hmm.
if you lose status, they automatically and immediately lose status as well.
All right. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So what happens in this case, Rajivji? I mean, they're given some time period to recover their, staff, and what happens?
Unfortunately, there is no grace period in these
Okay.
terminations. It's a very strange set of laws. The Senate bill does have I think, a 60-day period or 30-day period for some things where you can look for another job or leave USA. You
Mm-hmm.
have a grace period at the end of J1, which is 30 days, at the end of F1, which is student visa, for 60 days, but nothing for H1. There is no grace period, not even one day. Immediately you're out of status.
All right. So another listener writing in here, Rajivji says, I'm applying for an H-1B renewal. Now, in this case, do I really need to submit all of the same documents that I did so earlier?
You do. Every time you do an H1B transfer, renewal, extension, any of these things, it is just
Mm-hmm.
like doing a new H1. Everything will be redetermined.
All right. Okay. So another question here, Rajivji, is from a listener who says that I have been in the United States for about 7 years now. My husband is a US citizen. My children have been born here, and my husband runs a business. Now, do I naturally have get into the naturalization process? And if I still want to retain my Indian citizenship, can I do so while still, getting my US citizenship, or I'll have to just keep one?
First of all, there are very few cases in which naturalization is automatic. This is not one of those cases. So you
Okay.
have to actually apply for naturalization as and when you become eligible. Number one.
Mm-hmm.
Now
Mm-hmm.
comes the question of dual citizenship. The United States of America does permit dual citizenship. You have to knock on the doors of the Indian lawmakers and the law implementers who have dragged their feet on implementing dual citizenship. I believe, and again, I'm not an expert in Indian laws, I believe that Indian Parliament passed
Mm-hmm.
dual citizenship laws quite a few years ago, but the government never got their act together. For a few days, they had some forms up which you could file to maintain your dual citizenship, and then the forms were taken away for some reason. I don't know what the current status is. The bottom line is US laws have no problem with dual citizenship.
Okay, okay. So now she'll have to figure out what is it at the Indian end and then move forward.
Yeah, good luck with that. With the
I know.
Indian bureaucracy, you are lucky if you can get even basic information what to say of something this complex.
Oh my. Anyway, Rajivji, moving on to another question here from a listener who says, I need to go for my interview to the USCIS. I just wanted to know in case I need to be accompanied by some people.
No, that's a very difficult question to answer. It depends upon what is the interview about, what your case is, do you have any complications. I'll tell you this, in employment-based cases,
Mm-hmm.
interviews tend to be short and simple unless there is some specific and particular complication, such as the employer is under investigation or there is some other irregularity in your background. Most of these cases, we don't go for interviews, we don't have to, they tend to be formalities. So I really cannot assess whether you need someone to go with you or not without knowing what kind of case you have and whether there is any complication in the background.
All right, okay. Another one here, Rajivji says, my work location had changed and my employer had filed an H-1B amendment. Now I'm moving back to the original location, which was filed in the first H-1B petition. Is there anything that needs to be done now?
I'm not sure I know the answer to that question. Um, if we were to be, I'm trying to think of whether we would require an amendment back. Um,
Okay.
I'm not sure. I would have to look at the paperwork and see how the forms I-129 were filed. Obviously, you have an LCA for that location already, which is a Department of Labor approval. Would you really need an amendment to get back? Um, my conservative guess is yes, you will. But I really should have your lawyers look over the Form I-129, how the two were filed, just to make sure that I am not incorrect in my assessment. If you look at the USCIS regulations, they say any substantial change in an
Mm-hmm.
approved H1 requires an amendment. And a job location change or a client change, going from a client to in-house, in-house to client, these are all substantial changes usually. So it's better to just, you can also try calling USCIS. Don't do it yourself, have your employer do it. Make a note of what they say, make a note of the date and the time. This is not a foolproof source of information, but at least you'll be protected to some extent.
All right, okay. So, Rajivji, these were the queries for the day. Thank you so much once again for your time.
Always a pleasure, ma'am. Thank you.